Hello, welcome, and it's the World Cup final preview show. The games are slowing down. It's a little bit depressing.
The games are slowing down.
They've slowed down to like there's 2 games left. One doesn't matter, which is tomorrow. Excuse me, and obviously the World Cup final on Sunday, which very much doesn't matter. But I've loved it. I think it's been a tremendous tournament on the pitch, ignoring all the other stuff around it.
A lot of people have.
But I think it's been brilliant. I know you were away and so you won't have seen as many games, but a lot of the games have been played with an openness and a freedom, and I really enjoyed even Morocco the other night. I thought they were brilliant. I thought they've had a goal scorer, they knocked France out, but obviously they didn't. And even games before that, we'd seen some tremendous performances and teams just falling a little bit short. Seems like Ghana, who were hugely entertaining, just couldn't get through, and the Japan, absolutely brilliant, but again didn't have enough when it came to the final third. But it's been a good tournament.
I think everyone's gone for it, haven't they? I think you mentioned Morocco there in the semi-final against France. They had to go for it because France took such an early lead, and it meant they changed tactics, and those tactics nearly led them to getting goals. And I think that's been one of the plus points of, like, you saw the semi-finals, the quarter-finals, sorry, the likes of Holland being a couple of goals behind and knowing they had to get it back. We haven't had anyone sort of too often lead us to really negative tactics, which has totally left the game, meant that the game's gone to penalties and stuff. I know the Brazil-Croatia game was a little bit like that, but it's been good. It's been quite open. I think it's for everything that people say about the winter tournament, and I think it has stopped a lot of top individuals playing, but I do think we have managed to get a lot of the best players at the right time, and it's interesting because there's a lot of people coming to this tournament looking at Messi and Ronaldo, and obviously Messi's got there, but I think what it does show is Messi being a player who has been playing for Paris Saint-Germain week in and week out has really benefited from playing at this time of year, whereas Ronaldo, who hasn't been playing, obviously couldn't muster up enough to not only get Portugal through, but even get starts for Portugal into the knockout stages. So I found that really interesting. It's like football being played at the right time. And now that doesn't mean I don't want World Cups in the future to be played, not to be played in the summer, because that's obviously where they're best. But it does show you that after a long, intense season, you may not always get the best out of your players, and that might mean when you get to those knockout stages, you don't have that freshness, which means games sometimes become ponderous after an hour. Whereas I think in this, because those players are at the peak, we've seen in the knockout stages, they've had more, they've had extra, and in those, even if it's gone to extra time, they've still had more. So I think that's been a real plus point.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. What I would say is, just to go back on one of your points before, saying I know a lot of players are missing. But there was a study done just right on top of the World Cup when it started by a couple of sports scientists talking about previous World Cups, and you were saying, when you look at who's missing at the end of the season with these, in fact the injuries for this one were actually less than what they are for a normal tournament. So it's just, I think because you're in the middle of a season and you're seeing players drop off, you're going, oh my God, he can't go to the World Cup.
It was the immediacy, wasn't it?
And that's what it was.
The immediacy of like, he's got an injury that's going to keep him out for a week, he's out the World Cup. And the irony is, Benzema could be on the bench on Sunday, because Benzema could be on the bench because he obviously picked up an injury, which he said it's going to take 3 weeks. He wasn't replaced, and he's still eligible, so he could be on the bench.
They're saying he could be on the bench.
Yeah, they're saying he could easily be on the bench on Sunday because he's fit. He's still in the squad. He went away. There's no rules against that. He hasn't been replaced, so he could be in the squad. So it's weird the way that's worked out.
And the way it has worked out as well, obviously for France especially, is Giroud. Oliver Giroud has been unbelievable. Now, if Benzema would have been fully fit, we know Benzema's a tremendous striker. He's got lots of goals, and it's just a brilliant forward. But would France have had the same would he have had the same impact as Giroud? Like, particularly France's winner against England, the header. I don't see Benzema getting on the end of that. He scores different type of goals, but just the way Giroud gets across people, and he's so good in the area.
I think he's allowed France to be a lot more structured, maybe more pragmatic. Because even though Mbappe scored 5 goals, I wouldn't say he's absolutely had an amazing tournament. I don't think he's had anywhere near a tournament that he had 4 years ago.
He has had moments though where he's
had. What I mean is though, they haven't depended on him. He hasn't been running away from people. I mean, if anyone, they've been Griezmann's been more of the player they've depended on for the crosses, and Giroud for the headers, and that's been an outlet more than Mbappe's pace. I'd say in this, they haven't Mbappe's not run away from people too much and stretch teams. The goals have been coming from Griezmann and Mbappe getting and obviously. Giroud getting the headers, so it's been a tactic that they've relied on. So maybe if they'd had Benzema playing, that tactic wouldn't have been the same, and they've also had to change the style. I think in a lot of games, and I think we saw this in the semi-final as well, and we saw this against England, is that it's not route one, but the old-fashioned throwing the ball in the box with a great crosser in Griezmann and having a great header in Giroud has done them the world of good. So ultimately, they've benefited from that. But having someone like him available to come off the bench, possibly on Sunday, could be huge for them.
How impressed have you been with Antoine Griezmann? Because he is playing in a deeper role than what we've seen throughout his career. He's someone who has always, certainly for Atletico Madrid, played off the front, if not, part of it too, really. We've seen him drop into wide areas at times, but I think particularly the other night against Morocco as well, and he was very good against England as well, just dropping in those pockets of space, but always from a defensive point of view, the amount of times he cut crosses out in his own box and then led the counter-attack. And he's been brilliant.
I think he's simplified is what he does, because he's always, don't forget, he started as a winger. It's only because his natural talent has moved him more inside, very much like a Ronaldo or even like a Bale. You become so good that you're not in the game enough, and I think that's what happened to him. But I think in the last couple of years, as he's dropped off a little bit, the move to Barcelona didn't really work, gone back to Atletico Madrid, and I think they've just put him in a wide position that suits him, and having a player like Giroud in the middle for him, it's worked, and it's made this job a lot easier. I think you're wide, you track back, you get up, you put crosses in the box. We don't need anything ultra dynamic from you.
I think what Deschamps done really well in this though, because he's got the pace of Dembele and he's been impressed with Dembele when he's run with the ball. I know he's a little bit final ball sometimes, but he is incredible to watch. And he got Mbappe on the other side, flying forward off Giroud. It's enabled him to play in that pocket. He's almost a 10, but he's a 10 who's got that defensive responsibility of knowing where the ball is, just with experience. He's playing in the midfield. The other night it was with Fofana and Tchouameni, and he was dropping in and just picking the bits up and starting the attacks off. And I suppose, like you just said, as his legs are going to go, that movement's not going to be quite the same. He's dropped into that area where, we see it on the other side with Messi. Lionel Messi, his pace isn't what it was. He just walks around the pitch half the time and just wanders into space. But when he gets the ball and then he pulls you tight and then goes, bump up, I'm going, players haven't been able to get near him. He's been unbelievable as well. So I think that's what, for me, that's what stuck out with France. So I've been impressed with the way Deschamps been able to manipulate the way they play, because obviously no Pogba, no Kante, but 2 big misses for them, and they picked up other injuries as well. Obviously losing Hernandez and then putting Theo Hernandez in as well.
I think what happened 4 years ago was in the group stage they were very workmanlike and pragmatic, and once they got into the group stage, they sort of went up a gear, and those midfielders like Pogba started to become have a lot more influence on games. I think this time they've stayed a little bit more pragmatic longer. I mean, they've got to the final without really playing amazing, and they're just doing what they need to do. Like, they're not, by the way, they're not negative or anything. They're just doing enough. I mean, in the semi-final, like you said, Morocco with the centre forward to beat them. I look back at the quarter-final. Was it the quarter-final? Yeah, England. And I think if England had put as much effort in as Morocco did, in and around the box, because I felt like England went out with a real whimper. I really do. I know loads of people went, oh, they have a good go, and I don't think they did. I think they had shots. Second half, they were a lot better than they were first half. But I look at it and went, how many real saves did Lloris have to make? No. Okay, he tipped a couple over the bar and stuff, and I know it comes down to a Harry Kane penalty, but I felt England went out with a real whimper. Like, if they'd got Rashford on 10 minutes early, took Jordan Henderson off a little bit earlier, and that's not against Jordan Henderson, but that's just saying, we're just going to sit with Rice, and we're going to move forward. I thought England went out with that real whimper, whereas Morocco gave them a good game. And it came down to a cross into the box that Giroud got onto. And I think if England had a little bit more intensity about them, or I don't know, understood that was the game, that if they got through that game, then it would have all opened up for them. And I don't think England players I think England players sort of played with almost this thing of like, oh, we'll get a chance in a minute, or this will happen in a minute. And yeah, that's fine, and it did, and they got the penalty, and Kane's missed it. But to be relying on a moment like that, I think really good teams, when they sense they've got an opportunity, they all go after it. They say to themselves, we're going to put these on the back foot, we are going to go for these, we are going to throw caution to the wind, because we've got these. And I don't think England have got that quite yet, and I think that's what France have got, by the way. I think they've got that little bit of, not only nous, but a little bit of like confidence in themselves. We've already won this. There's no need, we'll get a goal. But I don't think when England played them, they had that.
No, I think we saw that against Senegal, was that when England did get the goal, they went after them and put them to bed. And what had been a tricky opening half an hour was negotiated in about 10 minutes. Iran was the same. England, I don't know whether it's confidence, whether they believed we're playing the world champions and we can't leave the spaces. But you're right, you know, watching it in and out of my ill stupor on Saturday night, I was like watching it just thinking, just have a bit more of a go. Because I know there was a bit of furore about taking Saka off. I thought Saka was crap. People go, oh, he was amazing. I was like, he didn't do anything. He went on a good run to win the penalty. But that being said, no, Foden didn't do anything.
No, but Foden would have been the one for me.
Kane done nothing, and it was like, we're not really, you know, I thought Henderson was one of England's better players for the simple reason that he was running around trying to get involved. Bellingham was trying to do a bit too much. I didn't think there was enough from Rice at times. So maybe, you're right, maybe we didn't kind of go, you know what, let's have a right good go with these. Particularly when it went 1-1.
At 1-1, I'd have just gone,
let's do it, because
at 1-1, at 1-1, I'd have gone, we're the better team here.
I don't think France are great defensively. The keeper's not great.
I'd have left Saka on. I'd have took Foden off. I'd have put Rashford on. And then towards the end, I would have put Grealish on just to win fouls. Just to get the ball in the box. With Maguire had on late on, didn't he? That he just flashed wide. I'd have got Maguire, got one more fouls, and just gone, you've got these.
Let's just quickly, we'll go back to that, but just on that game, the two incidents. One, would you have let Kane take the second pen? I had no issue with it.
No, I would have, because I think there's a lot of factors in it. I think that should have been something almost where this is where you look at it and go after the fact. But I think those things have to be sorted out before the game, by the way. As in to say, if we get two pens, maybe, because I know this fella,
I'll take one.
Because I think what a penalty taker should do is never change what he's going to do, and I think he did for the second one. I think what he thought was, I've already scored, and I need to change this because I'm playing. I mean, Lloris apparently is Harry Kane's best mate. Apparently they holidays together and everything, and he's going to know the ins and outs of everything. And I think it got into his head. And maybe a pre-arranged thing, not something in the heat of the moment, something like a pre-arranged thing should have been, listen, second penalty, if we get another penalty, let whoever, Bellingham, Maguire, whoever take it, and just put it on their toes, not our toes. It's not a case of weakness in terms of we're like, we know something you don't. And I think Harry Kane got in his own head, because I think he's got one way of taking penalties, and he didn't know what to do for the second one. He's ended up hitting it too hard.
So I thought he put it down the middle of the second one.
I thought
he just hit it, lifted a bit and put it down.
It's the weird, isn't it? He's a brilliant. We see this with Messi often with penalties. They're unbelievable, and then they sort of get in their own head. And I think all that needed was someone to just stand up and just roll it into the corner, which you see. And you've seen almost Messi understand that since he's missed one. He's now going, I don't need to panic.
Although that penny the other night at the roof of the net was unbelievable.
No, I know, but he's gone, like, since he missed the one against...
Saudi Arabia, was it?
No, it was against Poland. It was Poland he missed one.
Was it?
I can't remember. Since he's missed that penalty, he's been a bit like... no, he scored against Saudi Arabia.
Saudi.
Since he missed the one against Poland, I think it was, because it was Chesney, wasn't it, who saved it?
Yeah.
He's been a bit like... He's just been... And I think Kane got on his own head, and no one can say, I shouldn't have took it, but
no.
I think that kind of thing has to be almost like...
Every eventuality.
Exactly, you have to look at that situation and go, if I get a pen, I'm going to do what I always do, but if I get another pen, I have to know I'm just going to bend it in the other corner. And he tried to take the same pen, but he hit it harder, and he's ended up leaning, and he's got into his own head there. So yeah, maybe, but listen, it was fine margins, and I think what I would say about the England team is, I think England, it was a big opportunity, I think, and I think that's a big thing for a lot of people, is like, that was a huge opportunity.
Well, we'll come back to England in a bit, but in terms of Argentina, because they are obviously the opponents, what have you made of them, and particularly the main man there?
Well, I think what's happened is they lost the first game and the pressure was on, and what it's led to is the coach having to make changes. And I think what we saw in the first game, I think it was Martinez, wasn't it? I think Alvarez was on the bench.
Yeah.
I think what we've seen is he's had to change things, and I think that evolution through a tournament has worked brilliantly for Argentina, because what they've done is they've brought someone up front now who is young, got good movements, is a live wire,
energetic,
and he complements Messi. This is a kid who obviously grew up idolising Messi and is just there for, like, almost there for Messi. And you've got probably other players who, and we've seen this in the past with Argentina, who they all want to be the main man, and there can only be one main man for Argentina, because he's he is the main man of football. And I think again, another big difference in Messi and Ronaldo is Messi doesn't play to be he doesn't require being the main man. He wants other players. Ronaldo demands to be the main man. And I think bringing other players in has really helped Messi. And it's still, he's still got 6 goals, is it now?
5, isn't it?
5, sorry. He's got more assists than anyone else. He goes into the final as top goal scorer technically. But he's got a player now who's got 4 goals as well. So he's got other players who are doing selfless work for him, and he has his little moments, and we saw against Croatia for the 3rd goal that those little moments are huge. Can be huge, and he's been exactly what we wanted him to be, and hopefully there was a little moment in the first half, he was hamstring. Hopefully he's fresh for the weekend and really can do what we all want him to do, which is have a great game, and whatever happens from then on happens. But I think everyone just wants to see Messi have a great World Cup final and put an exclamation point on his career. Whether that wins enough to win it or not, I don't know, because people forget in 2016 Messi had a great tournament, but 14, sorry, probably had one in 16 as well, but because they were beaten when they got to the final, it was like he was exhausted. He carried that team. Remind me of Baggio in 94. People forget how brilliant Baggio was in 94. Misses the penalty in the final, and it's forgotten about forever. And Messi was brilliant in Brazil, and the final he just didn't have enough energy. And I don't want to see that again. I want him to have a great final, and whatever happens, because France are a tough side. But I want him to, I think so far he has put that, I think a lot of people have, especially with like, there's been like the downfall of Ronaldo. And it's funny because a lot of people thought in the last few years that Ronaldo's physical presence was going to allow him to have an amazing latter stage of his career. Like, he'll play up front, look how amazing he looks. But in the last 12 months, you've seen a massive decline of Ronaldo. And when he got left out of the game for Portugal, and the kids come in and scored a hat-trick, I think a lot of people went, some bottle to do that. Whereas Messi just seems to have got better all the way through the tournament. And I think Argentina are at a great place. Don't forget, these are the Copa America winners as well. When they won that, I know it's behind closed doors because of COVID, but when they won it, they all ran over to Messi. It was like it was the first international trophy the devil won. It was like you deserve this. And I think there's a similar feeling for Sunday. It's like everyone's going to be putting the bodies on the line. But I still feel like that defensively you can get at Argentina. We've seen that with Holland as well. The same way France, you can get at France.
Yeah, I think he has been spectacular, Messi. Started off, and you did worry in that first game because they were winning where they got the penalty and they were winning, he ended up losing, and then he misses a pen and you're thinking, but he's just got better and better. And the other night, in the semi-final, just picking up the moments, knowing his moments, getting the penalty, great penalty, even though the pundits must have been drinking some strange juice that thought it wasn't a pen. Scores the pen, the way he creates the goals, the third goals on slow the game down, speed the game up, dances past 4 or 5, just unbelievable.
I think it was the goal against Mexico. I think that was the one, wasn't it, where it was getting a bit nervy against Mexico. 0-0 was gone into the second half. And he scored that goal, and it was a typical Messi goal. Got given it into his feet and just bent it into the corner. And I think from that moment on, it was like, because people have always envisaged Messi in tournaments being a failure. And I think there's I think even in the first game, there was times in the game where you were seeing little moments and going, at club level, Messi doesn't do that. And for me, that Mexico goal was one of the first times where you will sit in this tournament, but it was just that time where you go, he's done something that he does week in and week out. He's in the groove now. And I think from
seen it against Australia as well. He just bends it.
And then from then on, he's just been brilliant. Yeah. He's just picked his moments, scored in most of the games, and the games he's always had a hand in something, whether he's assisting or whatever. And he's just a massive influence. And I think a lot of people want to see him get the trophy and it be his moment, because for his career he deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, it does remind you of certainly the way Maradona did it in '86 almost, although Maradona was still younger than that at the time and still had a lot of his career to go, but he carried that workman-like Argentina side right the way through and ended up, by hook or by crook in some respects, but ended up winning the game 3-2 and winning the World Cup, and that gave him that status that he rightly or wrongly deserved. But as a footballer, if you ignore the other stuff, if you can, it gave him that. And this would be the thing for Messi. And we've got a final where we've got Mbappe on 5 goals, we've got Messi on 5 goals.
But we've got Alvarez on 4 goals, and we've got Giroud on 4 goals.
So there are stories to be had all over the place. And I think you just said it there. We've got 2 defences that France have got tremendous defenders, but they just look wide open. They're all over the place. The goalkeeper never ever convinces me.
No.
Lloris, I think if they had a better keeper, I think it'd be even more difficult to get near them. But right now, for whatever reason, maybe it's just simply because games or because they've had to make changes, they're not as smooth as what you'd expect them. Argentina, the old style defender, Otamendi putting his head in, and they bring in Martinez off the bench the other night to try and close things out, and so it is gonna be interesting to see who gets into their groove quicker. Both have got it at the top end of the pit. If we just look at Argentina's results so far, they were beaten by Saudi Arabia 2-1, beat Mexico 2-0 after the excuse me, then 3-0 with then beat Poland 2-0. Apologies. Then they beat Australia 2-1. Netherlands was obviously 4-3 on penalties after being 2-0 up in injury time, which was mad. And then they beat Croatia 3-0. That's their route to the final. France's route to the final, 4-1 against Australia, 2-1 against Denmark, and then Tunisia beat them 1-0. France then beat Poland 3-1, England 2-1, and Morocco 2-0 on their route to the final. So both teams scoring goals.
Yeah. And a couple of clean sheets.
Yeah, a couple of clean sheets.
Semis.
To boot. Luca Farrell says drop a like blues. Danny Cathcart says been a good World Cup in general. It has been a really good World Cup. It's been an interesting one for the simple reason that when it was mooted, you can't help but think of like World Cups, and every one of us have all grown up when World Cups in the summer always seems to be like a footy festival, and there's no there's no club football for a few weeks to distract you. It's warm in general, and it's all about, well, yeah, there's games to watch and all that. But I've really enjoyed this, because we've said many times Everton aren't exactly turning up pulling up any trees, so that's good. But it has been good because a lot of the games have been open. There's been a lot of goals, so just as what happens on the grass, nowhere else. It's been an enjoyable tournament from that perspective, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's as I said, I think it's grown. I think it's grown in stature as it's gone along, and you know, the off the field problems have been talked about to death, and you know, there's been issues, but I think just in terms of the football, it's been a good tournament, and I think we're going to get a good final. I think we're going to get. We have got the two best teams, I think, getting there.
What have you made? Sorry, you did mention him before, but what have you made of Alvarez from City? Because he has looked like, because Lautaro Martinez has been in, and a couple of years ago when he was with Lukaku at Inter, then too, he was the one Barca were covered and City wanted him, and you were thinking this is the new kid, but
I think he's exactly what I think he's exactly what Argentina need. He's a player who's fantastic, and I think knows where the goal is. Obviously, that's why City bought him. But I do think that personality thing of like probably grown up in awe of Messi and now playing with him is a massive thing. Whereas I think Messi,
he's selfless, isn't he?
I think Messi is played with a lot of players who thought they should be the number 10 for Argentina, and it just hasn't worked. They're not willing to do the running that he needs. But you can say rightly or wrongly, but it's rightly because he's the best player in the world. And even at this moment, look at the third goal. He does all that work and he lays it back and he gives the kid a tapping and he's in the right place and he goes over and celebrates with Messi. He's in like, that's you. You did all that. And I think that's a huge that France have got to do more than just stop Messi. They've got to stop this kid as well. He's got 4 goals. And that's going to be...
Well, this goal the other night, he gets the penalty, and the second goal was then defending the corner, and he breaks, off he goes on the run, and I know he goes full to main Beckford, but he
scored it,
turned it and finished it. So, and you're right, the third goal, I'll stop it, I'll slow it down, I'll speed it up, where have I gone? I'm away, and then a lot of players are looking, can I bend it in? And he just puts it back into the area. And
selfless.
You're like that 3 yards out in a World Cup. I mean, only Mouani for France has had an easier goal the other night, the second one, and he's been on the pitch for about 10 seconds. So, fantastic, and France will have to be on their guard. Definitely. Toby Larone, what a name, says, nice to see you back, Baz. Hope you've regained your appetite. Getting there, mate, thank you. The Blue says, Griezmann is a ridiculously complete player. Can see Kudus similarities with him being able to play 8, 9, 10 and on the wing as well. Pogba and Kante have barely played for the last 2 seasons with them being injured, which probably a blessing in disguise, given Pogba can't really run anymore. I think he's good for France.
I don't know. I think France's defence is weaker because of who's playing in front of them, and I think Kante was huge 4 years ago, and there's not that Kante presence, so they are a lot wider open. They have to defend a lot deeper, and they are a lot more wide open. So it does create. It's not the strongest France team, we know that, but they've got to the final and they could win it without and that just shows the depth they've got as a nation.
Well, the Blues says England have got Maguire starting and France have Saliba as their 4th choice centre back. They're better than England all day. Well, they are, but at the end of the day, in that game, in the quarter final, England could have beat them, and if they'd have gone, and I think that's what you're saying. If England would have gone, listen, we're throwing everything at it. If it isn't good enough, fair play. They didn't. I think they'll have come off the pitch going, we probably had a bit
more. What I would say is, they were maybe at 1-1, they were a little bit worried that France were going to score if they threw everything forward. Well, they didn't, and France scored anyway.
Yeah.
That's what sometimes you have to do, go. And Morocco had to go at 1-0, and France went down and scored, but Morocco probably were like, well, what had happened if we just sat back? They probably would have scored anyway. We would have allowed them to play. They would have got up the pitch and they would have scored. We've had the right go at them. If you lose, you lose. What would you rather lose coming off the pitch and go? We had a real go there. We threw everything at them and we were so unlucky. You know, they nearly scored just on the half time with the overhead kick. Just little moments like that. For me, England didn't do enough. But there you go.
Swiss Cheese Feet says you know you true equality when you have a United fan and watches your videos.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Chris Cal says the first Christmas I've been dreading for years because it means Everton will be back playing. Wanderlust says it reminds me of the Messi Di Maria link-up from years past. Steve Kelly says FIFA is to reconsider the format of the 2026 World Cup in the United States.
Yeah, well, obviously there's 48 teams, and it was going to be group stages of 3 teams, but now they're looking at having 4 teams.
It's mad
because they know how well it works. The next World Cup's going to be mad. Obviously, it's based in 3 different countries, and it's going to be 48 teams. And, you know, listen, for us as a fan, it means more games.
Yeah.
It means more games. It means a bigger tournament. It doesn't mean a longer tournament. It just means a bigger tournament. Yeah. There's probably going to mean now. I think with the three group stages, it was 3 teams in the group stage. It was going to mean that if you got to the final, you played exactly the same amount of games as you're playing now. Just means more games in total. But if they do stick to 4, it's going to mean 1 more game, I think. So teams will have to play 1 more game if they're going to get to the final. I don't really see too many issues with that, to be honest. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. I think in terms of general football, it's a little bit mad. But what it will mean, though, is for the first time in a World Cup, every single continent will have a team.
Yeah.
Because the Australasia so New Zealand will be in it. Unfortunately, the Penguins haven't got themselves organised enough to get one for Antarctica. Yes, but classic Penguins, isn't it? You know what I mean? Always, you know, it's just what it is. But every continent for once will be represented. I mean, I don't know how it fought, but possibly mean more African nations. And obviously we've seen the emergence of Morocco this time, who could obviously finish 3rd tomorrow if they get the win. And we're going to get, you know, it's back for me. It's better for football. Whether people think it is better, that's up to them. I think me watching more games in the summer and watching less games of Everton, that to me is better. That to me is chilled out life. That's me living my best life. You know, or even being in America. I'm sure in 3.5 years we'll be over there covering it, Baz, I think personally. 100%. 100%.
Be good. It'll be good. We are going to come back on to England, but before we do, the lads at the playlist on 888 Sport YouTube channel have been discussing Gareth Southgate's position. Let's see what they had to say.
So you've got Southgate. Southgate can't be on my list.
No, he has to. He has to be on the list.
Nah, he's
Right
not
at the
on.
moment.
The
I
list.
mean,
for me, the answer to the next England manager isn't Gareth Southgate.
There's no way I'm having, and I love him. Obviously, look, my hero. But there's no way Gerrard's there in Gerrard third is.
Gerrard's a better manager than Southgate.
Oh, behave.
What? Gerrard's won silverware.
I know. Yeah.
But Gareth Southgate's been relegated with England.
Yeah,
He's been relegated with England. Do you know what that means? This England team, how good they are. They've been relegated.
Yeah.
He's relegated as Middlesbrough manager. He's relegated as England manager. He is the very definition of a loser.
But do you honestly think, forget your hatred for Southgate, do you honestly believe that Gerrard could do a better job for England than Southgate?
Yeah. Oh, stop. Anybody could. Anybody could. What's Gareth Southgate done for England? Everybody tells me that he's done stuff. What's he done?
He's made me fall in love with England again. Here we go. Watch,
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means. When people keep talking to me about things that don't matter, tell me about winning games. Tell me about performances. Tell me about silverware. I'm worn out by it. I'm worn out by his inadequacy. I'm worn out by just how average he is. He's a distinctly average
in a
man.
year's time when they've appointed Sean Dyche and he's going to be begging for Southgate to come back.
Sean Dyche is a better manager than Gareth Southgate.
Maybe
I don't want Sean Dyche to be England manager, but Sean Dyche is a better manager than Gareth Southgate.
There you go. Some strong words from Rory.
Absolute nonsense, Rory. You've come up with some utter garbage this year, lad.
He's had a bad season.
You've had a bad season, mate. You've had a bad season. Listen, you have to be and we're not always objective about the things we care about. I get that, because some of the things I say can be construed as mad about Everton. But from an England point of view, I am very objective because simply I don't care. And I think Gareth Southgate, as a coach, is one of the best out there. Because ultimately, right, as an England manager or coach, what's your job? Well, your job is to create a great environment for players to want to play in. So no distractions, no, you don't want the press being knobheads, which pretty much the not now. They've obviously the England team and the Wags are second to Meghan and Harry now. You've got an environment which everyone seems to love. All the young players are flourishing. The older players understand. He's got a good mix. In 18 months' time, when the Euros come up, you've got slots. You have the likes of Bellingham. You've got the likes of Foden. You've got if England can find themselves a real good young centre back, Ranthwaite, to possibly push on in the who knows in 18 months. But what we've seen is an England manager who's willing to give youth a chance. You've got the likes of Saka coming through as well. They're going to need a centre forward to push Kane, and that might be Rashford now. And he's got a lot of young talent which he's pushing all the time. He's got Grealish there. He's not. Think about a lot of England managers or a lot of coaches. This England team could be exactly the same as the England team 4 years ago. You see teams that just don't move on. This team has massively moved on in 4 years, and I think in another 18 months it'll move on again, and in another 3.5 years it'll have moved on. And the fact that Bellingham is one of the most important players now shows at 19 that how much faith he's got. I think what he has to improve on, is he has to be less cautious. He has to be a little bit more willing to put players on maybe 10 minutes earlier, or be a bit more ruthless at opportunities. But who would seriously replace him as the England manager?
I wouldn't change him. I think you look at him, you look at England in 2016, you look at the way they went out the World Cup. In 2014, they get out the group, did they? Which is in Brazil, in that group, they should have. And then you look at them in 2016 when Iceland beat them, they were a shambles, weren't they? People didn't like them, people didn't like playing for, didn't seem to want to play for England. And I think he took over, and what he's managed to do, he's got England to a World Cup semi-final, European Championship final. Okay, they've got to another World Cup quarter-final. All right, they could have, we've sat here going, it's a missed opportunity. It was, but that's football. Yeah. There's lots of teams, Belgium, will be sat there going, we've had the best players we've ever had, and we've done worse than England. Yeah. We haven't got out of the group in the latest thing. Yeah. So there'll be, countries, Spain, tremendous footballers. They're out, they went home early. Yeah. So Germany, another one. And I understand the argument, because Germany haven't got out the group since since they won the World Cup in 2014. I understand the argument. The argument is that this is such a good group of talented players. Yeah, but are they such a good group of talented players because of the manager? No, that's what I'm saying. They're such a good group of talented players that actually we need someone to kick them on. But who's going to kick them on? I've heard people like someone like Gerrard. People of Villa hated Gerrard. Yeah. You hated him because of his man management, because of his non-man management style. Yeah. There's talk of, people saying Frank Lampard, and then people saying, well, we should go to the other end and get someone like Mourinho or Pochettino, and it's like, no, you don't. What you need is, if I was going to give the England job to anyone, I'd give it to Lee Carsley. I know it wouldn't, but actually I would stay within that framework. I'd stay within the framework and say, actually, an England manager's nothing like being a club manager. But this is what likes of Germany have done so successfully over the years, haven't they? And Spain at tried. Well, when did that that broke down when they went and got the Bayern Munich manager? Exactly. They had Jürgen Löw. Yeah. They had him in place for years. He was obviously Klinsmann's assistant. Klinsmann's assistant. They just went, this is what we're doing. Yeah. Southgate's done it brilliantly. But too quick to go, all right, England have gone out, so must be failure, though. It's like, well, if Harry Kane's penalty is 6 inches under the bar, it goes in. England might win that game. To me, it's not failure going out in the quarter-final. They went out, played a game of football. Against the world champions. And they scored one more goal. And England missed a penalty. There's no hard luck story. There's no players with bandages wrapped around their head covered in blood. It was a simple fact that on the day they scored one more goal, and that happens in football against the world champions. Now, if they'd gone out and they'd lost all 3 games in the group stage or this or that, it's a very controlled sort of England setup now, where everyone knows what's going to happen, and the pressure on board, and there's no need for panic. And Southgate said himself,
he's going to go in January, and he's going to wait till January, and he's going to speak, and he might decide he's had enough. He might do that himself. I personally, don't know why you would, because I don't think he'll make it in club game.
Carlos said managing club football is just very different to internationals. It is, I think he's perfect. I think he presents himself really well. I think he's calm. He's a calm
He's willing
fella.
to stand up to people as well, like outside forces.
Yeah, we'll have a go. We both watched the thing where he had the media and changed the whole thing. So we had the media day with it on the go right. Yeah. He's changed so much. The England team used to be full of division from press and things like that.
Team division as well.
Team division. Little pockets. They all seem to love him and love playing for them. Why would you mess with it? I'm like you. I'm nearly that bothered. But when you're looking at it objectively, you're going, that's something that's working. England have got to a semi-final, a final and a quarter-final in the last 3 major tournaments. He deserves, at the very least, the next one in the Euros. I'd be giving him, if it was me and I was going, well, if you want to carry on this upward trajectory, he stays in place till 2026 and then see what happens.
I'd actually put
That's
him,
if he wants to
I'd
stay.
actually, if he wants to, keep him in charge till 2026, and then I'd offer him, I'd say, then you become
like the
technical
or whatever, yeah.
The technical
Because
director.
I think he's an intelligent man.
Yeah.
And club football's totally different. So
Absolutely.
there you go.
Absolutely.
There you go. Ruse just on the in the Premier says, welcome back, Baz. Quick question, sorry if I asked in the last show. I know we shouldn't sign players off the back of a World Cup, but which 3 players would you really take that you didn't know much about? I think
don't.
That's hard, isn't it? Because we know most players.
No
You'd
one.
no, not ones you didn't. There's not many you didn't know about. So to take 3, I'd have Alvarez, Kudus and
Messi.
Messi,
I'd
that's
have
all
Messi,
right.
I think.
Them 3 would be all right, I think.
Only give him a 1-year deal though, because obviously he's aging. That
Mbappe fella's not too bad either, really, but it's just where we'd play him. Royal Blue says, loving the content. All right, so World Cup final, Sunday 3 o'clock. Who have you got then? Who are you going for?
I don't think you can pick a winner.
Really?
I want Argentina to win because of Messi. I want Messi to get the trophy. France had it 4 years ago, and then you can have it in another 3.5 years.
For me, France are the better side, but Argentina have the weapons to hurt them. And I think what Argentina will do that maybe England didn't do is similar to what Morocco did, and they'll leave everything on the pitch. And they'll have that little bit of need. I think there'll be a bit of needle in this one for the simple reason, obviously. I think didn't Argentina beat them in the last World Cup as well?
France beat Argentina in the last World Cup.
Sorry, that's what I meant. They beat them in the last World Cup.
They beat them like 4-3 or 5-3.
Or whatever it was. So,
Pavard and Mbappe scored goals and stuff.
It's going to be an interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Hopefully it's going to be a good game. Hopefully. And then we'll...
A 4-3 to Argentina with a Messi hat-trick would be the perfect way for him to finish. But France are obviously a fantastic side, could easily win it. With Mbappe, couldn't he?
Make sure you check out the rest of that playlist video over on 888 Sports YouTube channel. Get over there, leave a comment. Tell them we sent you.
Do it. Sam says ours going out in the quarters not failure. Well, because they went out to the world champions who are now in the final. I don't think that's
what is failure then? What's failure? Not winning something, is that failure? Fair enough.
Everyone fails.
Everyone fails by one team.
By one team. Carla says not Southgate's fault that the players have missed penalties. If they'd have been scored, things could have been very different. Exactly. Right, thank you very much for joining us. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't. 3 o'clock Sunday.
We'll be out. We'll be here. Sunday we'll be here for the live game. So make sure if you want some company watching that game.
Be live from what time? 2:45.
Half two.
There you go.
Ish.
There you go. Take it easy. See you later. Bye.